not with braided hair or gold or pearls or costly array. Now, if we take that literally, we got a problem. Because this Paul is simply saying, you can't wear braided hair, ladies. You can't have gold. You can't have pearl. Is this what Paul is talking about? Is he really emphasizing that these women can't wear these ornaments, which I've heard some preachers today are saying you can't wear these things because Apostle Paul says it? That's not what Apostle Paul's talking about. He's not referring to you can't wear these things. Watch this. Females in the East pay much attention to their hair. It is plaited with great care and arranged in various forms according to the prevailing fashion, and often ornamented with spangles or silver wire or tissue interwoven. The sense here is that Christian females are not to imitate those of the world in their careful attention to ornaments of the head. It cannot be that the mere braiding of the hair is forbidden, but the careful attention to the manner of doing it and the ornaments usually worn in it, which characterized worldly females. It is not here supposed that all use of gold or pearls or articles of dress is here forbidden, but the idea, listen, that the woman is not to seek these things as adorning which she ultimately desires, or is not to imitate the world in these personal decorations. It may be a difficult question to settle how much ornament is allowed and when the line is passed. And this is where we're at today as a church. How much is it allowed and when is the line passed where you can't wear this dress? Oh, watch this. But though this cannot be settled by an extract rule, since much depends on age and on the status of one's life and the means which one may possess, yet there is one general rule which is applicable to all and which might regulate all. Watch this. Hear me clearly. It is that the line is passed when more thought on this external adorning than of the ornament of the heart. Let me say that again. The line is passed when more is thought of this external adorning than of the ornament of the heart. And here's where the problem is. We cannot discern the motive behind the woman wearing the dress. No man can do that. Watch this. Any external decoration which occupies the mind more than the virtues of the heart, and which occupies or preoccupies the time and attention more, we may be certain is wrong. The apparel should be such as not to attract attention to oneself. It is a poor ambition to decorate a dying body with gold and apparels. Costly array or costly clothing. Is Paul saying you can't wear expensive clothes? Is he saying you can't wear the brand names Gucci and Prada and Louis Vuitton? Is he saying that if we were to bring this scripture to today, because they didn't have the clothes that we have today, women? They didn't have the dresses. They didn't have the mini skirts. They didn't have the clothes that we have today. They had baggy, big, saggy, bulky clothing to wear. So who was Paul talking to then? Because they were already wearing modest apparel. Watch this. Costly clothing, costly array. You mean to tell me God don't want you to wear costly clothing? Is that what we're going to interpret this verse as? Expensive dress, earrings, necklaces, bracelets are included here. These costly ornaments were worn by the ladies of luxurious age in which St. Paul lived in. They were lavishly spending extravagant excess in great quantities and abundance. In other words, there was a group of women from Ephesus, which it was a prominent city of import and export. And these were rich, well-to-do, classy, extravagant, beautiful women coming to church decked out like they were going to a fashion show. If they were dressing like they were on their way to heaven. He's addressing these women in the church of Ephesus because they were putting too much attention and time in the way that they looked and the way that they dressed. Modesty and neatness are more to be consulted in garments than elegance and fashion. The desire, this is what the thought that Paul is trying to convey, that Paul had in mind was that they should spend more time and money in relieving the sick and the distressed and shut in feeding the poor and clothing the naked, than in decorating themselves. To do this in a manner unsuitable, and their profession of godliness is sinful and inappropriate. Paul never addresses women, how they should dress outside the church, only the place of public worship. The desire that Apostle Paul had was to have the women attend public worship in clean, decent, modest apparel and not the clothes they had been working in all day. These women were coming to church after they had worked all day around the house, in the field, and they were just walking up into the house of God in the same smelly, dirty clothes. The women in Apostle times worked inside the house, outside, around the house, and in the fields, and then they would come to the place of worship in the same clothes they had been working in all day. So Paul had to address, and he had to correct the proper way to dress when coming to the house of God. What were some of the occupations? Context, setting, background, culture. What were some of the occupations the women performed in St. Paul's time? In the East, during Apostle Paul's time, women worked in diverse roles, from domestic and artist roles such as handcrafting, textiles, perfuming, nursing, midwives, to significant roles in businesses such as shopkeepers, estate supervisors, and religious leadership, such as priestesses, synagogue leaders, church ministers like Phoebe, and deaconesses or deacon, and Priscilla the teacher. Remember Phoebe? She was a deacon. Priscilla, a teacher. Women worked in commerce and crafts such as vendors, jewelry makers, fullers or cloth cleaners, dyers, often from home but also in the public sphere. Women worked in domestic caregiving such as midwives, nursing, cooks, and domestic servants. Women served in religious and civic roles in some cities. Women were held in high-ranking positions like priestesses, overseeing finances and devotional adoration religious life. The virtuous women, watch this, of the book of Proverbs illustrates a household management position, overseeing production such as spinning, weaving, and business selling linen. Women were also involved in hospitality, supported missionary work, and were recognized as vital co-workers and leaders in the Christian faith, sometimes independently of their own husbands. He says, but which is proper for women professing godliness. The best ornaments for profession of godliness are good works. Are good works. He talks about this apparel, or we can probably apply that to wearing makeup. Can women wear makeup? Is it a sin to wear makeup? You think God is sending women to hell because they wear makeup to church? Do you think women are going to heaven because they don't wear makeup? These are external things that the church has been is being distracted today by these external wares. Paul lists it out, and he explains to us how we ought to conduct ourselves in the household of faith. We're taking a book that's written 2,000 years ago to Jews, for Jews, by Jews, and going to apply it to our American culture. Watch this. Wearing makeup isn't inherently a sin in most religious views, but the intention behind it matters. I just heard a preacher say the other day, if you wear makeup, God gonna send you to hell. The biblical or the Bible and other teachings often advise against vanity or lust or neglecting inner beauty, while viewing modest adornment for self-expression or cultural norms as acceptable, with shifting to the heart, motives, and glorifying God in it. It's the motive behind the makeup. Why do you wear the makeup? God looks at the heart. He doesn't look at the outward appearance of a man, of a woman. He's looking at the motive behind the dress, the motive behind the makeup, the motive or the intention on why you are doing it. Oh, my Lord. Paul urged women to adorn themselves with good works. This ought to be the center focus or the concentration, and a gentle and a quiet spirit rather than an elaborate hairstyles of gold or pearls or expensive clothing. He said, focus more on the adorning of the heart with what? Love. Adorn the heart with patience. Adorn the heart with faith. Adorn the heart with meekness. Adorn the heart with endurance. Adorn the heart with hope. Focusing on the inward man, that hidden man of the heart. Well, as you can see, the church is at it. Preachers are taking shots at other preachers because of what the wife has worn. And I understand now why young people don't want to come to church when they see grown people acting like this. People, we have much more to do other than to focus on the dress. We have souls that need to be saved. We've got a president who wants to start World War III, and we're fighting over a dress. Think about it.